Welcome everyone. Hello. Okay, this is going to be another ideas live stream, and at the end, we might look at where the game's at and what's happening with the playtest, which is, fingers crossed, not too far away. Okay, so let's get dug in with the first question. Let me just set this up. To click this one. Okay. So this question, this suggestion, sorry, was by Gavin RG, and he says, let me just move my monitor. That's better. He says, a miscellaneous collection of ideas of different celestial bodies and how they could affect gameplay. Black holes. Obviously, don't get too close, so you get pulled in and pulverized along with your craft. They could warp your field of view of space around them too, like a circus mirror. Neutron stars. Any electronics in the vicinity, assuming we're implemented, something like Minecraft's Redstone, get shorted out as long as they're nearby. Nebulas, massive colorful collections of gas and newborn stars. Comets and meteors can occasionally collide with planets and cause environment damage. Well, if any of this stuff does come, we're talking distant future. Especially stuff like neutron stars, black holes, that really affect gameplay. There isn't going to be a black hole or a neutron star in your starting galaxy. Sorry, not starting galaxy, starting solar system. So it really only applies if we get to the point where we're going interstellar. Maybe. Same goes for nebulas as well. And then the comets and meteors, we talked about this in the last episode. I think it was the last one. And we're probably going to have... Like, comets and meteors are probably going to be like an optional setting to like how severe they are, but like the default setting will be that they will not impact your starting world. So they might spawn like when chunks are loaded, but they're not going to be like coming randomly. So you're not going to build a base and then you're just chilling, and then suddenly a big comet comes in and smashes into your base, because that wouldn't be fun. So we'll put that one in future. Some of the stuff could happen in the future, but maybe put it in the maybe, because it's a bit more. Some stuff might happen, some stuff might not happen. We're not sure yet. It's too far away. Okay, the next one is by Sir Nino Nino, I presume. Water planets and boats plus other vehicles. The addition of planets consisting mostly or completely of water could be planets with an average depth of 10 meters with a few islands poking out. Planets with no land, an average depth of 50 meters or more. Planets fully made of water with a non-solid core you can swim through, or a solid core of ice because of the pressure. Planets with an irregular surface but still a lot of water. It could also be extended into what we theorize Titan is. Outer layer of thick ice, liquid inside, solid core. To go along with them, and of course with all water bodies in the initial system as well, boats and submarines could be added. You could have a simple raft that's just an entity like in Minecraft, but I'd love to see the option to create your own with voxels in an implementation similar to Minecraft's mods, Archimedes ships, Da Vinci's vessels, and Valkyrian skies, as well known ones. I haven't checked them out, but I remember one issue with them, and that is that they don't like connecting diagonal blocks. I suggest Oakum for that as a sealant/glue to allow diagonal blocks depending on how it's implemented. It could promote the creation of dry docks and shipyards. Alongside this ability to create submarines, hot air balloons, planes, and more could be considered. Okay, so there's a lot to unpack in there. I think, first off, the whole idea of a water planet is definitely happening. Yeah. There's no way I'm not designing an entire planet or moon or something that is a water world, because I think that's a really fun idea. With regards to the boats, unsure, because how that all works. However it works, will probably coincide with however we fall with our spaceship builder, because I feel it's like the same kind of thing. Like, how are vehicles going to work in Planetsmith? Unsure, haven't made my mind up yet. Depends on lots of things. It's a complex problem, and it's not a problem I want to tackle anytime soon. So yeah, we'll put this one in planned, because we are planning to make these water worlds, or I suppose it's future. Well, planned future. Yeah, it's not distant future. Okay, next one. This one is by Sir Nino again. Space exploration. Comment your ideas as well. During the recent stream, the idea of having things floating in the void, like barrels of course, popped up. I commented how being able to find old space battleship graveyards would be cool as well. Imagine going EVA or with a very small ship inside of a destroyer freighter or destroyed class ship. But you could find many other things like space stations, mining operations in asteroids, small moons or planets, the rare and old forgotten satellite. Maybe you could find the Voyager 1 or the New Horizons. That'd be cool. Secret base of evil geniuses inside asteroids or moons. These objects could appear in planetary orbits, interplanetary space, and or deep space. Yeah, I think this is a good idea for the future, because to start with, like I said before, the actual space travel part of the game will be quite basic, and then we'll add to it once we've got all our planets in. But yeah, definitely that's a cool idea for the future. Having something to do, there's no point adding space and having nothing to do there. So once we add the whole space travel type, this is the kind of stuff content we can put into it, which would be awesome. Oh, I'm going to read this in comments while we're going here this time. Someone's asked, is it actually possible to make a planet as small as the one in the Planetsmith logo? Yes. That is an actual planet from in-game. Yeah, we built that one out. Do you know what I might do is I might put that as a planet you can load into in the playtest, because that'd be kind of cool. So it'd be like a built-in planet, and then everyone can explore and build on it. I think the actual default smallest size you can do at the minute is 1 kilometer, square kilometer surface area, and I think that was actually smaller than that. Yeah, so maybe later I'll open up the ability. The problem with these tiny planets is the blocks get warped very quickly, because I think that's got a radius of, it's like 100-meter radius planet. So if you're building up, 0.5 kilometer, which is the build height limit, the blocks are 5 times bigger at the top than they are at the bottom, which is a bit of an issue. Yeah. But the game supports it. Okay. Next one. Oh wait, I didn't rate that one, did I? Oh no, I skipped past it. Meteor idea: rare, foreseeable, and valuable by Shrub Russell. My main ideas are: one, you should be able to see a meteor coming, preferably several game days ahead, maybe even longer with a telescope. It should be fairly easy to block just by building through a specialized meteor catcher item from late game. Might be a cool idea. The meteor should be embedded itself into whatever it hits, rather than just to your appearing, and have rare or unique materials. Yeah, I do like the idea of like it being a late game resource. So on some of like the outer planets in the solar system that are, say we've got a planet that's in the asteroid belt and it's getting absolutely pummeled. The idea that you're going there to get the meteor's resources, and that's what you need. That'd be, I think, a really fun mechanic. They say, picture this: playing as normal, when on a whim you look into the sky, one star seems to be moving, or rather staying still as the rest of the filament moves behind it. The next morning it's still there, fainter against the daytime sky, but casts an ominous shadow across the sun. It doesn't go away, so you get bigger, 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 and closer each day. Eventually, it gets close enough to cast a consistent shadow on the area of impact. What can you do? Perhaps you just need to construct a shield of disposable blocks several meters away from anything valuable so that when it impacts, nothing is lost. More likely, though, it's going to drop good ways away from your base, leading you to explore an area you might not have seen yet. The problem with having it, it comes tricky because when you're on your planet, you're still only loaded a small area of your planet. So what do we do? I suppose it then just you'd have to calculate the damage for them when the chunks. I suppose it's possible. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure of the asteroid mechanics yet. Will you be able to see them days ahead? That's kind of a cool idea. We'll see. We'll see. To be decided. I'll put that in a maybe. Okay. Next one. Falling Blocks by Europa. Main concept. I think it'd be cool to have falling blocks like sand or gravel in the game. It would also be affected by different gravity on different planets. Additional concept. If falling blocks do get added, maybe they could behave like falling sand simulators where sand slides down slope, water moves around surfaces, and fire flies upwards. This would be similar to games like Nautia or the Powder Toy. I haven't actually thought about that before, but yeah, doing like a sand simulator. They normally do them in 2D because it's a hell of a lot easier to deal with how you process. But it would be cool if sand, it couldn't be any steeper than 45 degrees. I've never thought of that. I like that idea. I think we'll definitely have gravity blocks of some sort. Whether we have it do behave like falling sand simulators, it could be interesting, and it's a bit different as well. I'll put that into the well, falling blocks will happen, so it's kind of like falling blocks is planned. Maybe we'll do stuff like the sand simulator where they can go sideways. That's an interesting thing to dive into. Be kind of cool though. Next one by This Is Coffee. Binary planets / twin planets. Two planets have the point where their orbits. Oh, sorry, I'm reading this badly. Two planets that have their point of where their orbit is center is above the planet's surface. Oh yeah, you're talking where where the so we got two planets of similar size or enough like Pluto and its moon, where the actual central point of the pair, I don't know what you call it, the pair of orbits. Oh, it even says it here as the surface. Barrack of Pluto and Charon, is that what it's called? Or Rask and Rusk in Kerbal Space Program 2. Yes. Yeah, that'd be cool. We could maybe do that. This again doesn't make sense until we have more of the space travel stuff because you wouldn't really be able to tell from the planet's surface. And then again, we're not trying to create a space simulator. We're trying to create, a voxel survival building creative sort of game. And the space part doesn't have to be realistic. We can take some liberties there. We could have cool stuff like this though, but does it matter? That then becomes my next question. Maybe? We'll see. We'll see. That can go into the maybe again. Well, someone's asking here about the game's progress. After these questions, I'm going to talk a bit about that and where we're up to. And someone else, saying the sand falling different directions would probably be pretty intensive. I don't know how much more intensive than falling sand it actually is. I don't think it's as. Don't think it's. I mean, it obviously means that instead of sand just having to fall down, it's going to take longer to settle because it has this sideways falling part. But is that inherently more intensive? I don't think it's that much more intensive. It's obviously slightly more, but I don't think it's like game breaking more. Okay, next one. Beige. I don't know what. Is it meant to be big? Or do I just not know what beige is? Maybe just don't know. Big fish in gas giants. Kind of like the gas giant whale from Lost in Space series on Netflix. Maybe it could be something like koi fish instead, or maybe some kind of ray species. Hmm. I don't know what we're doing with gas giants yet. We could. They're not going to be empty, so this is a great idea. We're going to be putting stuff in there. Would there be lots of big things? That'd be kind of fun. Maybe. Maybe. This can go in the maybe slot. We will be definitely putting weird and wonderful things into stuff like gas giants if we add them. I think we will add them. Whether you can explore them the same way will be different. I mean, to start with, we'll probably add a gas giant and put moons around it. You can go to the moons, but the gas giant itself is a bit different until we add more space travel, because you can't really go to a gas giant unless you've got some sort of spaceship to help you navigate it or something like that. Okay, next one. Multiple different sliders for different aspects of difficulty by personality. There are lots of games that have different difficulty settings. What if there was multiple settings that change different aspects of difficulty? Maybe one could be for how smart mobs are, while others that simply change how much health or damage things do. We can't forget about environmental hazards as well. I've seen many games that only have one slider for all difficulty aspects. I remember wanting to enjoy learning new boss patterns on harder difficulties, but dying almost instantly, thus not being able to have as much fun. I think that's a good idea. We'll put that one into plan for now. We'll definitely have difficulty sliders for, like we were talking about, for asteroids, which is kind of like a extra difficulty. The base difficulty level, it would be nice. It'd be nice if it affected stuff more than just. It's kind of one of my main gripes with Minecraft's difficulty level. I feel like there's only two difficulty settings on Minecraft. There is peaceful and hard, and the other two kind of don't matter. Yeah, so I'd kind of want to do more there. Ramping up damage and stuff. It could be cool if you put stuff like that affects difficulty into the generation as well. For example, we might make it so you can choose spawn rates to some level. Distributions. That could be cool. So you could have like the one, and then we could like have an easier mode, or and then a harder mode. Not sure though. The problem with that making it a difficulty setting is there will be the accepted difficulty by the community, and then everyone uses that. I'll have to see. But yeah, I do like the idea of splitting it into different things. I have to have a good think about what that means. Can it affect AI? Probably. We could do so like some things that I don't think is often done by difficulty settings, but is like some low flying fruit that you could do. Is when games come to combat and enemies are coming around you. I think this is the most obvious in something like the Batman games. you'll find that so many enemies, say like 4 enemies, try to attack you at once, and then everyone else will kind of just stand back and wait for those guys to finish attacking you. Once you kill one, they'll step in, and then you can fight them as well. And this is, I forgot what the name for it is, but it's basically how many enemies can you be fighting at once. And it uses like what do they call it? I forgot what the technical name for this is, but it's kind of like I think it's called a token system, where say the player has 4 tokens to give to enemies that can attack him at once, and the other ones will then be in a waiting pattern. So that could be something you could really change the difficulty with without changing the feel of the, like, so say people are struggling because they're fighting because they don't want to have to fight, like 4 zombies at once. You could make it so on easy mode you can, only one zombie will ever try and attack you at once and the others will wait. Then you release the tag and then you get the next ones in. Whereas if you have it on like the hardest setting, there's no tag system. Everything's coming for you now, which would be kind of a cool way to switch difficulties, as well as the other ways, which are of course, making your weapons effectively do, giving enemies more health. That's the normal way difficulty changes, is you increase the damage that enemies do and you increase the hit points that enemies have, and you go, hey, we've done difficulty, now we're done. But yeah, it would be nice to have more than that. Okay, so we'll put that one into planned. I really like that idea. Oh, someone's commenting down here. It makes it difficulty to switch difficulties if it affects train generation. That is true. Um, I think it'd be like if we did add something like that in, it's kind of like a choice in your world gen settings, and that's as soon as you've locked that in, that's locked in. It'd be kind of like I think a good example of that would be it just came out of early access and went into full release. Satisfactory. So in Satisfactory, you can choose your starting planet, and that's effectively choosing your generation. I mean, it's not the same type of generation as what we're doing in Planet Smith because it's yeah. If you know the game, you know what I mean. But some worlds are easier than others because there's more resources, or the resources are more spread out in others. So that is like what I mean by the generation effects, because it'd be like controlling like how yeah. It could also be a hostility thing to your starting planet. You could say, like it's if we added something in like, oh, I don't know, that you actually had to, if you're in a desert, you actually have to have water. I don't know if we're going to have that mechanic, but I'm giving it as an example. And then it's a more deserty planet, so then water becomes more of a task early on in the game. But yeah, that kind of thing. You don't choose the planets, you only choose the location you land in. Uh, yeah, someone's saying like amplified versus normal. Yes, that type of thing. That's more what I'm thinking about, because that could be somewhere where you can also change the difficulty. Yeah, yeah. It depends what type of enemies and stuff we're getting, because you could have it like, I don't know, certain biomes or something spawn different types of enemies, and that effectively makes the game harder. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that's still in the gray zone. Okay, let's carry on. Before I could talk about that all day, I think. This is by Abrasax. LOD for physics. People have been talking about very large and intensive structures, huge space realms, interplanet collisions, etc. To handle this, I suggest handling physics with LODs, limit of detection, relative to the player's location. If a player is at the site of one of these incidents, releasing physics is viewed, but not if it can statistically generate. Releasing. Okay, okay. As an example, um, A. Close to the player. The debris is generated from real-time physics for flight and impact, which the player can see and interact with. B. Lower LOD. They may be used small, less accurate integers for storing transform, and maybe just procedurally generate the impact crater rather than an explosion simulation. C. Furthest from the player. The debris is generated statistically using a particle-like system where you say you simulate a few debris flight paths, then statistically guess where the other debris will fall around the area the player cannot see. In conclusion, this would allow for lower and more consistent resource usage and simpler than you would think, maybe just tweaking from some integer lengths. Oh, I mean, this boils down to, are we actually having planet collisions? And I think the answer is no to that. A physics LOD, does it make sense for us? I mean, I think the truth is, the physics level of detail will be, are you close to the player? Physics is on. And by close, I think physics may be restricted. It depends what we mean by physics. Because, like, in your traditional game sense of what physics means, that is probably only surrounding the player's like 1 meter of the player. We're talking, that's where physics is, because that's where player interacts with blocks directly and collides with them. Everything else will then follow like world physics. I don't know what to call it, but effectively it's not physics. It's like, or not like traditional game engine physics. It's following rules. And then, like we're talking about with falling sand isn't really physics. It's a rule. It looks at the blocks around it. If we're doing like the diagonal thing, what it does is it looks at a chunk of, say, 2x2 cell of blocks, and it goes, oh, how can this sand move? And then it moves it. That's not physics in the same sense. So if we had something like, we were talking earlier about asteroids, and if an asteroid is landing somewhere which isn't loaded, or even if it's landing somewhere that is loaded, that's still not using physics. It's kind of, yeah, it's working out what the block structures are. It's then impacting, and then you generate what the new pattern looks like. It doesn't, there's nothing dynamic there. You can add in randomness to make it look like it's dynamic, but it's not like a, we're not talking like your classic physics sim. Yeah, so I think that's where we rely on that. So we'll put this one in unlikely, because I don't think it's needed. Like everything will work how it's meant to work all the time. If stuff's happening outside of unloaded chunks, then it doesn't happen, and then it happens once you load in. Like a meteor, if it crashes outside of your vicinity, you'd load in. It has stored that the meteor crashed at that location. It then calculate it all. You wouldn't see the explosion, but as soon as the chunks are loaded back in, you'd have the crater, for example. Here we go. Water Mechanics, None Infinite Water That Still Flows by Timmy GC. I don't believe this is a repost. This isn't using particles, and the other posts were kind of vague. If it is, just let me know. Okay, we don't need to read that bit. I really like the idea behind the water physics mods in Minecraft, but it doesn't work as part of the game, running farms, item transportation, so I've been working on the mechanics, and I realized that it might be something that would be worth mentioning. So the idea is that you don't have infinite water sources, and water flows downhill, so rivers flow into the sea. You have 8 levels of water possible. The way water physics mods handle flow is by checking the general area for water that is at least 2 levels lower and moving a level of water to it. That means that streams and such will always run out, and water transportation of items is impossible. The solution is you just have the water check the adjacent block and no farther, and then you get a slope of water which is good for item and boat transport. It also creates gentle streams instead of always creating ponds. So you're saying don't have water move. I think what you're trying to say is you can have different levels of water, so it's not just there is water, there isn't water. Oh, but then does it? But you're saying when water spreads, it won't spread past a gradient of 1? I think that's what you're trying to say. Let's say you had water that was 8 tall, and it was you just placed it on the ground. 1 water would go each of the 6 directions. You'd then be left with 2 in the center, and then 1 on all the adjacent ones, and then it goes no further, and it would flow. That's interesting. I hadn't thought of that. You'd still get a stream. The only thing that worries me about this is that's maybe fine. I was thinking like you're in the middle of the ocean, you pull a bucket of water out. Like how much does that ripple? But that's the same. You'd pull 8 out of the center, then one would fall in from each side, making it 6 tall. There'd be 7 tall, and outside that would be 8 tall. And then it'd be happy again. That could work. It still feels weird that you can make holes in the ocean. Because you'd empty, but like not everything could fall into it. Is that fine for us? That's maybe fine. If you tip a bucket back out, you could make like little mounds on the ocean, which would be weird. So you got the ocean nice and flat. You tip a bucket out of your boat onto the ocean, and it would like make a lump. I suppose Minecraft already does that. You can place a bucket of water above the ocean, and it creates a little spout. So is that fine? That's probably fine. I think it's a cool idea. I'm going to explore that idea. Whether it happens or not is a different. We'll put it in plans. It doesn't mean it's going to happen, but it does mean I'm going to have a look and take that as a possibility because that sounds interesting. I like it as well because it's different to Minecraft's water. It works really well with 6 blocks, I think. It does mean you can run out of water in your area. I like that you can drain stuff easier. We just have this slope rule, and the slopes. It's not like the water properly flows. Like it would never go back level, so it doesn't bring about that whole lag problem that if you pull one bucket of water out the ocean, the whole ocean now needs to recalibrate to the correct level, creating lag everywhere, which would be terrible. It still only really affects stuff close to it, which is fine. So you pull one block out the ocean, it affects what's that, 7 blocks. No one cares. Actually, it would technically affect the blocks outside, calculating that they don't need to move. So that would be. That's still not many blocks. That's whatever the next hex number is, like 18 or something. 19 probably. 19 blocks in total. Yeah, that's probably fine. Okay, we're going to explore that. Cool idea. Mechanics. Wait, we're in Deja Vu land. It's also by Timmy GC. Water mechanics. Water cycle. This assumes we don't have Minecraft's duplicatable water sources. Possibly using the idea I mentioned in my other post. Okay, cool. Good we read that one first. There could certainly be areas that have springs that are blocks that put out water every so often. So kind of like what were they called? They're called I think they're called geysers in oxygen not included. So you've always got a place that generates liquid. That could. Or we could have something different. You could have it because that's like a hot geyser is the idea. I think you get there's something else. I think it's called sludge or I think they call them volcanoes or something. I don't know. But yeah. Oh, the other thing, right, I've just sidetracked myself with this idea before I carry on reading. Having water behave that way would make a lot of sense for lava and if we had like a volcano. It means it can spit out lava and it would kind of flow as you'd expect. Yeah. Yeah, I like it. I like it. That's definitely worth exploring. Not soon, but I'm definitely going to explore that. Right, carrying on. I'm getting distracted again. There could be certain areas that have springs. These are blocks that put out water every so often. So if there is an air source adjacent, this allows for water generation. But it's also tied to specific locations. The flow rate of these springs are tied to how many adjacent blocks of air there are. Though another option would be a random tick, which could be set on cliffs anywhere, creating a unique water feature. Yeah, I like the idea of some sort of spring. That could be cool. How it works from a game mechanic, I'm not. Maybe it's a bit magic, you know, because it doesn't have to be completely realistic. We just have a spring block. Can the player pick up that spring? Maybe. It's like a cool thing to find. You found a. You can take it, and then you've got infinite water. And the rule of it can just be, you know, it's kind of like a dispenser in Minecraft. Is there air in front of me? If so, I'm going to dispense water, and you just keeps dispensing. Maybe it has some rules about how quickly it charges. So if it looks at like the blocks below it and how much, you know, like, oh, that could be interesting. Yeah, I think there's some cool mechanics we can add there. Timmy GC says rain can also randomly generate water on the ground. Oh, that. So I'm reading here, sorry. Rain can generate water on the ground. I was thinking 2 levels each time, as one wouldn't generate any movement. This would be done by random ticks and should easily allow for multiple partition values. This would create streams and puddles during and after rain. Evaporation is also done by a random tick, losing a level or two of water. This is easily tied to the heat value. Evaporation only occurs if the water is exposed to the sunlight. So item and boat transportation works in covered tunnels. The chance of it happening is also dictated by surrounded water. A level 5 water block is less likely to evaporate if it's surrounded by 5 and 6 level than it's surrounded by. Oh, this gets hard. So if we allow rain on the planet, what does this mean? So if you allow rain to happen on the ocean, you're going to get like tons of little puddles on the ocean, which would be weird. So I think for the first rule has to be rain can only land or land pool if it hits a solid block. So it has to land on a solid block. Then you have the problem where a lot of the land has grass and stuff like that on it, or flowers. So does it break the flower blocks, or do we have to then have like a... Does every block have to have a waterlogged variant? And then the waterlogged variant has to have levels? Or do we only let certain blocks be waterlogged and they have levels? It gets really complex really fast. I don't think we can have rain that puddles. I think it probably too many headaches. And too much, you know, is your rain and then you're suddenly going to go, oh, my computer was running at a nice... If you're on a low-end computer, let's imagine, and you're just managing to go along at 30 frames a second, it starts raining outside. And then all these blocks are updating outside your house, and now you're running at 2 frames a second. Oh, it could be tricky. Could be tricky. Oh, wait, do I not have this one? I don't think I've got this one printed for my tier list. Yeah, so I'll put this in the same category though. In Timmy, you're still up here in the water mechanics, but I don't have a copy for that one. We'll just say it's in there for now. Okay. This one's by birdguy.png. Different save type called multi-planet or something similar. So basically, if you're going to add multiplayer and stuff, when you create a world that has 10 planets and every time a new player joins, They spawn in one of the 10 planets. So some people here are saying it's a bit of a repost. I think we've had something similar, but not quite this. So yeah, let's talk about this one. Because there was someone that talked about you've been able to like merge worlds together. But I think this is the idea, is that you're generating. Yeah, you have 10 starting planets, and you're just. I feel like this could be a game mode or something. Like it's kind of like a server rule thing, because it fits slightly different with the vision that I have for the normal game, which is every solar system that is your starting solar system that you spawn into, no matter what your seed is, has the same number of planets, and all those planets have the same flavor. They're all random, of course, but it has the same flavors. This is like saying I presume you'd be adding everyone to a similar starting planet. If you could chain them all in similar orbits, you could do something quite interesting with this. I think we'll put that in. I'll put that one in maybe. It could be some sort of game rule we do in the future. Wouldn't be anytime soon though. But it could be a fun thing, because I was thinking you could do stuff like, oh, you're all spawning on your planets, and then you could have little races to see who can get off their planet first, and you're all on the same server. That's kind of fun, that kind of thing. Yeah, I think there's fun things that you can do with that. Planet Rings idea by Dusk. For context, this is a binary planet type of thing, similar to Pluto and Charon. I hope I'm saying that right. In the first image, Planet 1 has a ring, but Planet 2 has gravity, which is affecting that ring. Oh my gosh. No. That sounds, I've read so far, and that sounds way too complex. Since it's off center, the ring smashes into the planet, and it's being called a ring impact spot. Holy smokes. Launching debris back into orbit to continue feeding the ring, thus making an endless cycle. There is an option of the ring flying through a supermassive canyon that has been slowly dug out by the ring, so that on the ground you see a giant canyon with a massive cloud of rocks and dust flying through. The second image is the ring making a figure eight pattern, moving around Planet 1 and Planet 2. This would happen because the ring is in orbit around Planet 1, then gets stuck in orbit of Planet 2, and the gravity is launched back into orbit of Planet 1. This illustrates the possibility of both planets either having a ring impact spot or a canyon, or can just be hovering above the planet and making no contact. Well, I can tell you for certain this would be an unstable system, because it's got three bodies. It's like a close proximity three bodies. So rocks would either get flung in or flung out. They would not stay as a ring. That wouldn't be possible. From a physics side. And then from a gameplay, this is way too bonkers for Planet Smith, I think. We'll put that in the unlikely. As crazy and as cool that would be. If some modder can come up with that, would be kind of cool. I feel like you'd have to. It sounds to me more like a planet from Outer Wilds. Like, I feel it fits that kind of narrative really well, where you're kind of, you're balancing, you're wanting to make kind of crazy planets from like a space point of view, not from a exploring the planet point of view. And we're wanting to make more crazy planets from like exploring the planet point of view, not from the cool, I'm flying there in my rocket ship space view. Okay. Before I carry on, I'm just going to read a bit more chat, see where we're behind. Yeah, someone's saying different liquids can have different flow rate. Yeah, that could be like how steep the gradient's allowed to be between blocks. That could be cool. Like, you could say water will go down 1 every time before, without flowing. Whereas you could have, say, I don't know, lava has to go down 2, so it's like a steeper slope. It's more viscous. Yeah, okay. Zan Doctor, why did you choose to make the blocks hexagonal? It makes a planet. That's basically what it boils down to. You can't. Well, you can do it with squares, but you have to warp the squares considerably to do it. And then they're not squares anymore, so you kind of lose that nice square shape. And then it feels really weird because depending where you are on the planet greatly affects how what you build looks like. And I mean, crazy amount. It's like really distorted planets. I think my first video talks about this, and then other people think, oh, you just make the planet bigger, the distortion gets less. That's not true. The percentage of distortion remains the same. And so you just have a bigger area where it's all distorted, a bigger area where it's not distorted too, but you still have these huge connecting areas. Basically, the edges of a cube is where the distortion gets really bad. But this shape's based off an icosahedron, which is a much more cylindrical, it's not cylindrical, spherical shape than a cube. It looks, yeah, if you look at an icosahedron, you go, oh, that looks more like a football. I can kick that. I can see that rolls. Whereas a cube, you're always like, oh, it's going to not roll very well. So when you distort an icosahedron into a sphere, it's much more, there's much less distortion. And then because the icosahedron has its dual shape, the dodecahedron, which is the pentagons, they're kind of the same shape. You can then, of course, then use the pentagons in all the vertices points of the icosahedron and then fill in all those gaps with hexagons. And then that gives you a close to perfect sphere where all the hexagons are very regular. So they're all kind of the same size and shape. So it means wherever you're building on your planet, it'll look the same, which is not true if we were using squares. Now, there is one workaround you could do. You could turn the world effectively into a donut. I think people have done this before. You still display it like it's a sphere, but the data is actually in a torus. So what this means is it's like Asteroids, the classic video game. If you go off the top of the screen, you come loop back round to the bottom. If you go to the side, the left side, you come back round on the right side. And that would work. But it would mean that if you run, say you run north on your planet, and it looks like a planet, so you're like, oh, this is cool, I'm running around, and you run all the way around the planet, you'd come back to where you started, and you go, oh, cool, there's my house. But if you run halfway around the planet, and then you imagine you turn 90 degrees and run halfway around the planet again, you're now on the other side of the donut. Now, no matter how much you run around that part of the planet or explore that area of the planet, you'll never find your house again. It'll be lost to the other side of the torus. And then it's not trivial to navigate back, especially if we're displaying the world like a sphere. It's like this weird... It would kind of feel like you've gone into another dimension. And then you'd have to go halfway, then you'd have to turn right, go around the world again, know when you're in line with your house again, and come back around. And it just makes it very weird. Oh, yes. Oh, we're getting next one. Next question. Donut World. Let's come back to this then. We're getting ahead of ourselves. Right, that's Donut World, Suffolk Planetary. Well, I'll just carry on talking. If we did a Donut World in Planetsmith, I think I'd actually make it look like a donut. I wouldn't like try and hide it into a sphere. Would we do that? Maybe. And then every single block would be a hexagon. No pentagons on this. No pentagons required. Yeah. And there'd be no distortion. It'd be really nice. Well, slight distortion, but marginal. Yeah. Because a donut, as much as it looks like a shape, it's actually flat in terms of its Gaussian curvature. Like a piece of paper has no... If a flat piece of paper has no Gaussian curvature, and any grid you can draw on a flat piece of paper, you can draw on a donut, because it has the same curvature. Whereas you can't take a piece of paper and wrap that onto a sphere, because a sphere has positive Gaussian curvature, and then you can never get it to fit. And then there are things that have negative Gaussian curvature, like a hyperbolic surface that has negative Gaussian curvature. And again, your piece of paper, you can never stretch it onto a hyperbolic surface like a saddle. Okay, I think I've chatted about this stuff. So what we're going to say about Donut World, maybe, maybe not. We'll see. Now, before we stop, I want to go over some of the best ones. So I really liked the falling blocks idea. Not because, not for the, oh, hold on. I think I can type it here. Falling blocks by Europa. That was a great idea. I always was thinking about putting falling blocks in anyway, but I like the idea that stuff can move to the side. That's really cool, and I hadn't thought about that. So Europa, congrats, you're going to be another barrel philosopher. And then the other one I really liked was the multiple different sliders for difficulty aspects by personality. That one's really cool. I wasn't really thinking about that, but that's a great idea. I think it'll happen in some form. Maybe not to start with, but at some point. I think there's stuff we can do there. It's also really good for accessibility as well. So I really like that. And the other one I really liked was here, by Timmy GC, the water mechanics, not only for water that still flows. Not thinking of that. I think that's a really great way to do water that should work and be just not the hex version of Minecraft water, because that's what I was leaning towards, was the hex version of Minecraft water. But that seems kind of boring in a way. I want to be doing something a bit different. Oh, not because it has to be. Yeah, so that'll be our 3 new barrel philosophers. Now, I'll now we've finished with all the suggestions for this month, but I'll do another one again next month if you've got more suggestions. But for now, we'll just open up free to questions, and I'm going to talk about what's happening with Planetsmith and the playtest. Okay, so I'm just going to read chat for a minute. Oh, Paul is saying a Taurus world can work. They require much more additional math for many things. Yes. Oh, okay. There's a Taurus world in some games like. So I didn't. So you're saying sorry. So I think it's Paul is. My latest showcase was a Taurus world, and some games like Eco use that method for a planet. I don't think Eco uses a Taurus, does it? No, I thought Eco used broken zones and they hide them with the ocean, don't they? They have. I thought they take a sphere and they have. I think like they take different grids and they lay them on. So you take a flat square grid, and then you. That's right, isn't it? I'd have to Google it now. I thought Eco used broken grids. Or is it? Or are they actually using a torus? I thought they were using something else. Someone needs to fact check me. Oh, apparently it is a torus world. I thought they used a broken grid thing. Maybe they did once upon a time and then they changed it to torus, or maybe they never did. I don't know. Never mind. Okay, we've got some other questions here. How big are chunks? 16 by 16, and then 512 blocks tall, and each of those is split into sub chunks, which are 16 by 16 by 16. However, that's probably gonna, yeah. But so like a chunk that would it depends how you talk about chunks, because there's kind of there's where the data sits, there's where the and then how you divide them into chunks. Yeah. We'll call 16 by 16 by 512 because that's kind of how the data sits. But 16 by 16 by 16 is a chunk that would need to be updated into a new mesh if something changes inside that subchunk. Oh yeah. Paul is saying, yes, Eco uses a torus. It's a square map wrapped on both directions. Oh, fair enough then. Fair enough. Sorry, I was not. I thought it used something else. Oh, it has a consistent sun over the whole planet. Okay, I haven't played it, but yeah, it's something I should probably play at some point. Okay, that's kind of cool. Right, let's go. I'm gonna change scenes. Just give me a minute. Oh, you've seen my thing on the left. Let's go to this scene. Cut. Okay, I think you should be seeing Unity now. I need to get my chat back. So, with regards to the playtest is really close now. We have all the features that I want in for the playtest are there, but there's a couple things that I need to fix up before we're ready. I need to fix up some bugs that have been long-standing, which are fine for me, but they're not fine if we're having a playtest. I can show you some of the new stuff. Oh, so we're in the test world at the minute. Oh, and this is the new inventory. Yeah, there hasn't been a video on this. I think if you're a YouTube member, you'll have probably already seen it. I've shown some sneak peeks of this. So we have this nice new menu for creative mode, which lets you sort all your blocks. And we have some cool new tools. So if you remember from the videos, we had the explosion stuff. Oh. Why did that not load? Oh, there we go. So we have the boomstick now. So it's basically turning... I've added items to the game now. So we have these cool new items. So it means that we can add in new features nicely without... because before I just like bound them to a button because it didn't matter, but that doesn't make sense for a game. And it also means that we can tie these type of crazy things just to creative mode, you know, or some fun mode. Maybe in the release game they become some sort form of cheat. And then this is the other thing people were talking about. Oh, the asteroid. We need an animation for this one, but this one just summons an asteroid down. Oh, my shaders aren't loaded. There we go. And you can right click to make it crazy because it just makes you in an asteroid storm. Oh, that one float. Whoa, I've not seen that before. They missed the planet. Oh dear. I think they'll actually fly forever. I hadn't actually seen that before. And the other cool stuff that we've added in now, or I've finally finished, was the stairs. I think I did a live stream for stairs ages and ages ago. And we talked about this new shape, which was it was originally a suggestion that somebody posted to make them... I wasn't thinking to make them this shape. I think this shape was my idea, where I've added the kind of like the pointing instead of going straight across like we used to go straight across here. It meant that it looked really weird against the hexagons because you'd have like this smart area. But what was suggested was how to do the corners. So you can see we have these nice corners now that come in. So that's your like inside corner, and that's like your outside corner. And it does all the correct rules, so it connects nicely. So you can do stuff like that now, which you couldn't do before because the corners wouldn't work. So they all work as expected. Okay. And then the next... What else is... Oh, Yeah, there. So we also have glass. Oh, I'll put it into normal box because you can't see it. I think I need to make the glass a bit darker, because it's kind of hard to see, especially probably for you. Oh, in fact, let's make this bigger. So you can now, let's make ourselves a nice window. You now have your glass panes in, and you can have different colors, and they should connect still. Oh, there you go. That's really hard probably to see. You can kind of see it against that background. We need something with a bit better color, but it still does the whole connecting thing. Oh, we've got some bugs here I need to fix by the looks. Oh, there's probably a few bugs on some of these blocks because I changed how some of the rules work when I was doing the stairs. These ones still work? Yeah, they all look fine. Oh, am I flying? Oh, that's what I was doing. I was flying. Yeah. So what's left to do? Oh, so the other thing we'll have to do. Has this been in a video? I've shown time lapses, but I don't think I've shown it in a video. So what you can do is you can open up console, and then you can. Oh, it doesn't work apparently. Oh yeah, time lapse start. Here we go. And if I click time lapse start now, the game is now recording a time lapse. So you don't need any recording software for this. And now let's just place some blocks because why not? And we'll place some stairs. In fact, let's just, yeah. On the sun's going down, let's put the sun back up again. Doesn't matter what I'm building. Okay, and now I can go time lapse. And then I can do stop, I think. Oh, time lapse. Stop. Okay. And then it pops up the video for you. And then you should be able to play it. And there you go. There's my time lapse. So it's like a really quick and easy way for everyone to record time lapses. But what I want to do before the playtest as well is add some more features to this time lapse. So I'm going to add it so you can do like a nice tracking shots and panning shots automatically, and it's going to have some GUIs so you can see what's happening. I'm going to improve the console a bit better as well, so it's a bit easier to use, because you don't actually have to use the console to start them. You can use an F key. I think it's F5 to start and F9 to stop, and that also will record you a nice time lapse. Okay, so before I disappear and go back to fixing up Planetsmith ready for the playtest, have we got any more questions? And I'll answer a couple more questions and then we'll call it a day. Oh, and if anyone's wondering what's why this test world is like how it is. So we have these different colors, and this is actually the chunks from the games. And someone was asking earlier about the size of the chunks, so you can perfectly see a chunk here. So that block there is one corner of the chunk, and then it goes up and, oh, let's choose a chunk that hasn't been half destroyed. So, oh, find one over here. So that is one corner of the chunk, and then that there is the other corner of the chunk. And that's all the blocks inside. And then the difference between these greens is telling you whether it's an inside or out. You know, is the edge counting down or counting up? So that's like a, you know, if you go over this edge, it's a negative direction. If you go over this edge, it's a positive direction. And then why are some blue and some red? Well, it's because chunks in this game have to be mirrored to make the maths easier. So the red chunks are the mirrored version. Oh, actually, sorry. Red chunks are what I call the regular versions, and the blue ones are actually the mirrored versions. And what I mean by mirrored is the coordinates go in an opposite direction. I don't know if you can see on screen. You must have to be full screen for this, but the coordinates are in the top left. So if I go to, let's move speed 20. Let's just go a bit quicker. Okay. Oh, I don't want that type of corner. This one will be better. Let's make it noon and pause the sun. Okay, so we're gonna go over here. So I am move speed 5. That'll do. So I'm in the corner of a chunk now, and you can see on the left it says chunk. It says sorry, block 500039. So that means we're in zone 50. Or coordinate 50 of the, you can ignore the first one, it's kind of confusing what that one is. And then 0 0 means we're on 0x 0y and we're on 39 tall. So if I jump, you see we go up to 40 41. Whereas if I walk in this direction, you'll see x is increasing, x is decreasing. And if I walk this way, y is increasing and x is staying the same. But if I go into this chunk here, so with this one, this should be x increasing, shouldn't it? But it's not, it's y increasing. And then this way is x increasing. It just makes the maths easier, but it does mean we have all these inversions to deal with. But it's kind of cool when you're in this test world, you can see it, and it makes it easy for me to test blocks are working in all conditions. And then these yellow ones here, these are the edge chunks that connect between the other chunks. And then, of course, the pentagons are their own special case. Okay, let's see if there's any questions. Square Donut is ask. Oh, hold on, I'm not going far enough. So Christopher said you should put more defined borders on the glass. The panes are nearly invisible. I agree. The texture does need changing for the glass. It's just an old texture, and we just haven't updated it. Square Donut asks, will there be a world edit type thing? Possibly. Not sure yet. Not soon. But I want to add in a bunch of console commands that kind of do that type of thing. The warrior, making them darker would help. Wouldn't help yet. Won't help. Yeah. I think they need a border. Got to go by when storing the chunks to disk, are you only storing edits or all blocks in the chunk? I am storing everything because it's quicker to store everything than edits. Yeah, it's quicker to store everything and load everything than to regenerate and then do edits, if that makes sense. Will also, the size that it takes up on disk is absolutely tiny. So it's fine to store it all on disk because you can compress it and it's really compressible. Square Donut's asking, will channel members get early access to the playtest? No, it'll be open for everyone at the same time. Yep. Oh, and I saw she's already answered that. Just retyping this. Would you consider putting a lighter edge on the glass pane so we can... Oh, yes. I've answered that now. While I'm here, can I see those hexagonal tiling textures on the... Oh, on the pentagonal squares? Sure. It doesn't work, is the answer. You can see here how it's all distorted. This texture here is actually only available for me in like the Unity editor. It's like a texture. I think it's the first texture I made for the game, but it was just something so I could easily see distortions and color them nicely. But as you can see here, it's not very good. In fact, I can put on. If I go here, I think this one. Oh, I can't. Oh, I've obviously broken. Oh, have I broken it? You look, this is a bug I need to fix. I can't currently place a block or break a block. Oh, so I can't place. I can break edges. I can't place on edges. I can't break or place some pentagons. I changed the way that some things work, and I think that's broken this. So yeah, that's on my to-do list for today. It obviously needs to be working. And you'll see stuff like this. If I fire if we make an explosion right here, you'll see that the explosion doesn't affect past like these chunk edges. Okay, so someone's asking, how is the FPS affected by more complicated terrain features? You're only getting 110 frames per second in this test world. Doesn't affect it much. The reason I'm only getting 110 FPS as well is because we're inside the Unity editor. The Unity editor makes everything run a lot slower, and the reason is it's also rendering all this again, so it's like rendering the game twice. Yeah, and there's lots of other overhead that only happens in Unity. So if I was in play mode right now, like actually in a build, I'd probably get 300 frames a second. And I can tell you the game runs really well. So this will be in the next video, which will be out maybe this week, will be the next Planet Smith devlog. And then there'll be a video talking about the playtest as well that will come out soon, which I haven't started making yet. But the game runs on this, which is... This is a tiny Nook PC, and I got it in 2018, so it's not new. It's an old Nook PC. The game runs at 200 FPS in a generated world on this. So anyone should be able to run the game. I mean, that's got the same graphics card as you'd get in your mobile phone. And speaking of mobile phones, I can maybe get this on camera. We'll see. This will be a bit hard for me to film right now. There we go. We can... There we go, we're in. I think you can maybe see here what the frames are. We are running at 30 frames a second, and that's capped on the phone, so it can't actually run faster than that. And I can't really show you it playing too well. It'll be in the video. Oh, the glare is terrible. But we are running... Is that a good angle? We're running just fine on the phone. Okay, I think that'll do for this live stream. We can't see... Oh, you can't see the cam. I'm being an idiot. 1 second. 1 second. We'll fix that. Hold on. We'll do that again. Take 2. Where is the camera? Unity Mate 2. Camera. Oh, we want to get that out of the way. Go away. Right, well... Right, hopefully this works better. Take 2. And then cut. I'm here. Okay, so this is what I was showing. I was trying to do it like this. There we go. That's it on my mobile phone. Loading in. Hopefully, oh, the lighting's bad. Hold on. Make it middle of day. That might help. And we're loaded in. And if I get myself some destruction, tools. Let's get the... So there we go. I can... Oh, I need to press that one. Oh, that's kind of hard to control at this angle, but as you can see, it's running pretty smooth, especially for a mobile phone. So hopefully that means it'll run on anyone's PC. Then someone's asking, all right, well, I think I missed a few things. You're considering adding some. Okay, well, add these. We'll do the last few questions. Will the hexagons be hidden in normal terrain, Jen? Or have you considering adding some kind of... Oh, I think you mean the pentagons. They won't be hidden. I'm thinking of doing something cool with them some of the time. So not every pentagon will be something to do, but I think there should be something to do with that. I think you should make a procedural crafting system for survival mode. Procedural. So how does procedural? Procedurally, I don't think it's going to be procedurally generated. I have got some cool ideas for crafting though. Okay, so I was asking. Okay, weird question. Cross-platform multiplayer. Yes, that is a long way off, but that is a plan. I really want it so you can play on PC, build your cool world, but then still, play your world on the bus, or with friends. Obviously the experience on mobile will be worse than PC because controls will be harder and everything like that. But that doesn't really matter. It's not a competitive game. You're not trying to shoot each other. It's just for people who want to then play on their world elsewhere because, maybe, they're out and about, they've got a commute, they're on their way to school, that kind of thing. So that's the plans with mobile. Mobile is a distant future plan. The game has to be successful first, though, for mobile to happen. If the game isn't successful, mobile won't happen. Just because it won't financially make sense. And someone's saying, don't forget Mac. Yes, Mac again. Mac won't happen. So at launch, I'll maybe talk about the planned schedule for when you can expect PlanetSmith on different platforms. So the first launch that will be you can purchase and own will be a Steam early access launch. And that will be on PC only. And it will remain on PC only until we hit 1.0. Once we hit 1.0, that's when we can maybe expect stuff like perhaps a Linux and Mac version. And that's when I'll then start thinking about building console versions and mobile versions. But bear in mind, the game is going to be in early access for a while. It's not going to be like a short 6 months. It's going to be a couple of years, I suspect, because we'll have a lot to do. When the game goes into early access, we will have a playable survival mode, but it won't be a complete survival mode. As in, there's not going to be all the planets in. There's not going to be, everything cool to do that's planned. And then multiplayer will still need to be added, and yeah, that's what I was thinking. And then we'll have work on stuff like multiplayer and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, the ultimate plan is to have it cross-play with as many platforms as possible, which would be really fun. And then someone's saying, remember to add controller support so disabled gamers can play it. It already has controller support. Right, I can grab my... Let's do it on the fly. Controller here. It might not be linked is the problem. Oh. Are you linked? My controller's not linked. Sometimes you have to restart. Oh, there we go. Here we go. And now I'm playing with the controller. Controller support is super trivial to add for this game. You kind of just get it for free. So there we go. There is part of the control support that isn't done. I can't choose blocks on the menu at the minute, but stuff to be added. We're still early days, but there is basic controller support there already. Someone's asking, any idea if the Windows Steam version might work on Linux using Proton? No idea. No idea. I'm not going to test that either, and it's not going to be a priority. Yeah, because like I'm saying, you see, the reason I only want to do Windows for early access is Well, one, it's the largest audience by far. It's like 98% on Steam or something like that. So we're going to get the most players. And then if we add the option for Mac and Linux, I'm just basically creating problems for myself that I don't want to have to deal with at that time. Because we're going to get Mac specific problems and Linux specific problems. And I don't want to have to be fixing them along with everything else I'm trying to do while creating the game. So I just want to focus on getting one version of the game great first, then I can focus on making other great versions of the game. If I spread myself too thin, it just means we'll get caught into loops of constant bug fixing for stuff that's only affecting like a couple % of the user base, which just doesn't make sense. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna call it here. Thanks everyone for watching. I thought that was been good. We got a little sneak peek, and I'll be pushing a video out soon, so hopefully you're excited for that one too. I'll catch you later. Cheers.